Rain fell hard on the streets of the city, washing away the bright colors of neon signs. Puddles reflected the orange and green lights from shop windows. People hurried under umbrellas, their heads down, avoiding the wet. Among them walked Mark, a man in his late 20s. His jacket was wet, and his shoes squelched with each step. He carried an old, broken umbrella, one that had lost most of its fabric and bent spokes. Mark looked at it and sighed. "Useless," he muttered. He reached a small alley beside the apartment building where he lived. Without a second thought, he tossed the umbrella into the trash. It hit the garbage bag with a soft thud. The rain made the smell of the alley stronger, a mix of wet trash and mud. As Mark walked away, he thought nothing more of it. The rain was heavy, and he wanted to get home and dry off. But in the shadows of the alley, something watched. A faint glow moved behind a pile of boxes. Small eyes, larger than any human's, reflected the neon lights. Mark didn't see it. He didn't even notice the tiny footprint glowing on the wet ground, left by a creature no human had ever met. Mark reached his apartment and entered quietly. The building was empty, only the sound of water dripping from the roof. He hung his jacket and shoes to dry. He poured himself a cup of coffee and sat by the window, staring at the rain. Outside, people ran with umbrellas, faces hidden under hoods and hats. Everything seemed normal. But Mark felt a strange pull, a small sense of unease, though he could not explain why. Hours passed. The city's lights flickered in the wet darkness. The alley where Mark had thrown the umbrella was now empty, or so it seemed. The small glowing figure crept forward, careful not to make a sound. It moved with unusual grace, almost floating above the puddles. In its arms, it held a tiny baby, smaller than a cat but glowing softly like a dim lantern. The broken umbrella lay near the trash bag. The mother alien picked it up, tilting it above the baby. The fabric was torn, but it was better than nothing. The rain pattered through, falling lightly on the glowing baby. The mother's eyes, large and shining, showed fear and exhaustion. Every step was difficult. She whispered in a language Mark could never understand, words full of worry and care. The baby cried softly, its glow flickering with each sound. The mother wrapped it tighter and tried to shield it from the cold rain. She moved slowly, carefully, trying to avoid the human world outside. But humans always notice strange things. And humans could be dangerous. Mark, in his apartment, felt something again. A noise, soft and strange, like water dripping in a rhythm that wasn't quite right. He leaned closer to the window, trying to see. Across the street, the neon reflection shimmered. At first, he saw nothing. Then, for a fraction of a second, a glow in the alley caught his eye. He blinked. It was gone. Probably just a reflection, he told himself. The city was full of lights. But the feeling stayed, a small tug at the back of his mind. Something was there. Something small, something afraid. The night grew darker. The rain became heavier, hitting the pavement with force. The streets emptied slowly. The alien mother moved with the baby, searching for shelter, any place safe from the storm. The broken umbrella drooped, holding what little protection it could. Her steps were careful. Every puddle was a challenge. Every shadow might hide danger. And then she saw it. The trash can where the umbrella had been tossed. She remembered it, remembered the way the human had thrown it away without a second thought. It was strange, this creature called a human. Thoughtless sometimes, careless. But now the umbrella was a lifeline. She picked it up and tilted it over the baby, her glowing eyes reflecting relief. Mark, unaware, went to his kitchen to make a snack. He opened a can of beans. He hummed a song quietly. Outside, the rain continued and the alley waited, hiding its small secret. Somewhere in the shadows, eyes watched him, curious, careful. The alien mother and her baby moved silently. The night was dangerous, but the umbrella, broken and forgotten, was their shield, and Mark had no idea that, just hours after throwing it away, the small object he called trash was now saving a life not human. But life nonetheless. The city slept, but a story had begun. One that would change everything. The rain continued through the night, heavier now, streaking down from the dark clouds above. On the streets, the reflections of neon lights shimmered in the puddles like broken glass. Most people had gone inside, leaving the city streets empty except for a few hurried souls clutching umbrellas. Mark sat by his window, sipping his coffee, thinking about nothing in particular. The storm made the city feel smaller, quieter. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that something unusual was happening outside. A tiny tug of unease lingered in his chest, like the echo of a dream he almost remembered. Far away in the alley where he had tossed the broken umbrella, the alien mother moved carefully. Her baby in her arms glowed softly, pulsing with each breath. The rain had become heavier, and the puddles were now small rivers. She tilted the broken umbrella over the baby, trying to shield it as best she could. Every step was a struggle. The umbrella's fabric was torn, its metal frame bent and fragile. But it was enough for now. The mother's eyes, large and shining, scanned the area constantly. Every shadow could hide danger. Every sound could be a threat. Hours passed. In his apartment, Mark turned on the news. A weather alert appeared on the screen. Unusual rainfall patterns detected across the city. Scientists baffled by glowing precipitation in some areas. Mark frowned. Glowing rain? He had never heard of such a thing. The screen showed images of glowing puddles, shimmering in neon reflections. People walked through it, their shoes glowing faintly from contact with the mysterious liquid. Mark blinked. It looked strange, almost magical. For a moment, he thought it might be an optical illusion. But the glowing footprints outside his door told a different story. Outside, the alien mother moved faster. The glowing rain made her baby uncomfortable, and every drop seemed heavier than it should. She whispered softly, words flowing like water, a language that no human could understand. The baby's glow pulsed in rhythm with the soft cries it made. Mark glanced outside again, as if pulled by an invisible force. Something small and faintly glowing moved in the alley near the dumpsters. He squinted, but the shape disappeared as quickly as it appeared. "Must be a trick of the light," he muttered, though his heart beat a little faster. The alien mother found a corner of the alley sheltered by a metal sheet. She crouched there, trying to keep the baby dry. The broken umbrella drooped over the tiny glowing creature, barely holding the rain off. She breathed heavily, exhausted from carrying the baby through the flooded streets. Mark's mind wandered back to the umbrella he had thrown away. A strange thought struck him. I wonder if anyone found it. He shook his head, dismissing the idea. Trash was trash after all, but outside, the umbrella had found a new purpose. It was no longer useless. It had become a small shield against the storm. And the human who had discarded it had unknowingly saved a life. The baby alien whimpered, and the mother's glow brightened in response, a soft, warm light. The rain fell harder, and puddles rose around them. She moved slightly, lifting the umbrella to catch more of the water, careful not to tip over. Every movement was precise. She could not afford mistakes. Meanwhile, Mark returned to his window. He noticed something strange. Footprints glowing faintly in the water, leading away from the dumpster. His curiosity grew. He put on his coat and decided to check the alley. The alien mother sensed movement. Her eyes widened, and she pressed the baby closer. She did not want the human to see her yet. Humans could be unpredictable. She studied the shadows, waiting to see if it was friend or threat. Mark stepped outside into the rain. The streets were quiet, except for the sound of water hitting puddles and the occasional distant car. He followed the faint glowing footprints toward the alley. His heart pounded with excitement and fear. He reached the dumpster where he had thrown the umbrella. The trash smelled stronger in the heavy rain, but something caught his eye, a small glow near the edge of the bin. He leaned closer. His eyes widened slightly, but before he could see clearly, the glow disappeared into the shadows. Mark froze. He could feel that something extraordinary was near. Something alive, something not human. Far away, the alien mother watched him, evaluating. She did not understand him, but she knew he could either help or harm. She had to decide quickly. Her baby's life depended on it. The rain continued to fall, heavier than ever. The city seemed to hold its breath. Something was about to happen, something that would change the lives of both human and alien forever. Mark's shoes squelched in the puddles as he stepped into the alley. The rain was still falling hard, tapping loudly on the metal roofs above. His eyes scanned the shadows, searching for the faint glow he had seen earlier. The city felt different in the rain, empty, quiet, and full of secrets. He reached the dumpster where he had thrown the broken umbrella hours ago. Water ran along the sides, and trash bags swayed in the wind. A soft glow flickered at the corner of his eye. He froze, his heart raced. Something small was moving near the edge of the dumpster, but he couldn't make it out. Then he saw it. A figure crouched in the shadows. Its body was small, almost childlike, but the shape was unlike anything human. Large, shining eyes reflected the neon lights. The glow grew brighter, and Mark realized the figure was holding something, a tiny glowing baby. His first thought was fear. His mind screamed to run. But something in the way the figure moved stopped him. There was no threat in the motions, only care. The figure lifted a torn umbrella and tilted it over the baby. Mark's eyes widened. That broken umbrella, the one he had tossed without thinking, was being used to protect a life. The alien mother looked up. Her glowing eyes met his. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Mark felt a strange pull, a mix of awe and fear. The mother's gaze was intelligent and cautious. She was aware of him, and he was aware of her, yet neither moved. The baby's glow pulsed softly in her arms. Mark stepped forward slowly, careful not to scare them. I don't want to hurt you," he said quietly. His voice sounded loud in the empty alley. The mother flinched, pressing the baby closer. Her glow brightened as if to warn him to stay back. He stopped, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. I didn't know. I didn't know anyone was here," he whispered. His eyes scanned the torn umbrella and the tiny baby. It was incredible. Something so small and fragile, and yet alive, glowing in the heavy rain. The mother tilted her head, studying him. Mark noticed how carefully she moved, how protective she was of her baby. Every motion was precise, graceful, and intentional. Her intelligence was clear, even if he could not understand her language. She did not attack. She did not scream. She only watched, waiting. Mark felt a strange connection, like he was witnessing something extraordinary. The umbrella, once useless and broken, had become a symbol of life and protection. He thought about how humans often throw things away without knowing their value. Now he understood. Even something broken could save a life. Suddenly, the baby cried softly. Its glow flickered, and the mother tightened her hold, shielding it with the umbrella. Mark instinctively stepped closer. Without thinking, he lifted a small trash bag, covering a puddle to block the rain. His heart pounded. Was this the right thing? Would she trust him? The mother's eyes shifted. She seemed to understand, just a little. The glow of her gaze softened, but she did not lower the umbrella. She tested him, waiting to see if he would harm or help. Mark froze. This was not a human. He had never seen anything like it. And yet, he felt a deep sense of responsibility. Minutes passed. The rain fell steadily, filling the alley with its rhythmic sound. Mark kept his distance, careful not to move too fast. The mother adjusted the umbrella, keeping the baby safe. The small glow of life in her arms seemed fragile, yet resilient. Finally, she made a decision. She took a cautious step back, keeping the umbrella tilted over her baby. Mark understood. She would allow him to stay. For now. It was a small act of trust, but significant. Mark exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. He had seen something incredible, something beyond human understanding. The alien mother and her baby had survived the rain so far, thanks in part to a broken umbrella he had discarded hours ago. And now he was part of their story, whether he realized it or not. The alley remained quiet except for the rain. Shadows moved, the neon lights reflected, and the glowing baby slept safely under the broken umbrella. Mark knew one thing for certain. His life had changed. And this encounter was only the beginning. The rain pounded harder, drumming against the metal roofs and streets of the city. Water ran in thick streams along the gutters, forming small rivers in the alleys. The neon lights from the shops reflected in the puddles, casting strange colors on the wet walls. Mark stayed at the edge of the alley, frozen, watching the glowing figure crouched in the corner. The alien mother held her tiny baby close, the broken umbrella barely shielding it from the heavy downpour. Every second felt fragile, like the wet paper of a torn book. Suddenly, a larger puddle near the alley shifted. The current, stronger than it should have been, threatened to sweep the baby away. The mother's glow brightened, a warning. She held the baby tighter and adjusted the umbrella, but the water surged forward quickly. Mark saw the danger instantly. He didn't know what the creature was, but he understood it was a child. Without thinking, he ran into the alley. Water splashed over his shoes, drenching him completely, but he ignored it. He had to help. The mother's eyes widened as he approached. She tilted the umbrella to shield the baby, moving instinctively. The water surged higher, hitting the edge of the dumpster and spilling over. The tiny alien baby cried, a high-pitched sound that made Mark's chest tighten. Its glow flickered weakly with fear. Mark reached out, grabbing a fallen plank of wood from the alley floor. He held it steady against the water, trying to slow the flow. His hands were shaking, but he didn't let go. He could feel the rush of water around his legs, but he focused only on the baby and the mother. The mother watched him carefully. She didn't speak words, but her eyes reflected a mix of fear and curiosity. She had never seen a human act so quickly to protect a life not their own. Every second mattered. The water rose dangerously high, and the baby's cries grew louder. Then, disaster nearly struck. A strong surge knocked the umbrella from her hands. It tilted dangerously, leaving the baby exposed to the rain. Mark reacted instantly. He lunged forward and grabbed the umbrella, holding it steady above the glowing child. The mother's eyes met his, shining with relief and a silent acknowledgement. Together, they stabilized the baby under the umbrella. The mother's body shook from exhaustion, but she did not let go. Mark realized the umbrella, once useless and discarded, was now the difference between life and death. Something he had thrown away without thought had become a shield, a symbol of hope. The baby's glow brightened as it stopped crying, safe under the umbrella. Mark breathed heavily, soaked and tired, but a sense of accomplishment washed over him. The mother slowly lowered herself to sit on the wet ground, holding her child close. She studied Mark for a long moment, her large eyes full of intelligence and recognition. Mark knelt a few steps away, unsure what to do next. He could feel the rain soaking through his clothes, cold and heavy, but he didn't mind. He had acted on instinct, and it had saved a life. It was a strange feeling, fear and awe mixed with a sense of pride. The storm continued around them. Rain fell like tiny rivers from the sky, yet in the small corner of the alley, there was a fragile calm. The baby's glow pulsed gently in rhythm with the mother's breathing. The broken umbrella leaned over them, battered but doing its job. Mark realized something incredible. Humans, even by accident, could make a difference. A discarded object, a quick decision, and courage had saved a life. He felt proud, yet humbled. This was not a victory over an enemy, it was a partnership, an unspoken connection across worlds. The mother, sensing the danger had passed, gave a soft sound, almost like a sigh. The baby nestled against her, glowing softly. Mark stayed still, not wanting to disturb them. He had seen how fragile and precious life could be, even if it was not human. As the rain continued to fall, the alley seemed quieter. The danger had passed, but the city still loomed around them, full of unknown threats. The alien mother and her baby had survived the first challenge, thanks to their intelligence, instincts, and the unexpected help of a human. Mark stood slowly, his mind racing. He had touched a life unlike any other on Earth, and it had changed him. The rain fell harder, but for the first time that night, he felt a spark of hope, a small light in the darkness, that told him their story was only beginning. The rain had slowed slightly, but the alley was still wet and slippery. Water ran in thin streams along the ground, carrying leaves and trash with it. Mark's clothes were soaked, and his hair clung to his forehead, but he didn't notice. His focus was on the small glowing figure in the corner. The alien mother held her baby tightly under the broken umbrella. Every movement was careful and precise. Her large eyes scanned the alley constantly, wary of the world around her. She had survived this long by being cautious, by moving quietly, and by trusting very few. Mark took a deep breath. He knew he couldn't just stand there anymore. The baby was fragile, and the mother had already struggled enough. He stepped closer, carefully keeping his hands visible. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. His voice echoed lightly against the wet walls. The mother's eyes widened, and she flinched slightly. Her glow pulsed faster, a mix of fear and assessment. She didn't understand his words, but she could feel the intention behind them. For a moment, time seemed to stretch. Mark's heart pounded in his chest. "I can help," he whispered, glancing at the baby. "I can hold the umbrella while you rest." The mother tilted her head, unsure. Her instincts told her to stay alert, to run if necessary. But something about the human's posture, his calm tone, and the fact that he had already saved her baby, made her pause. She allowed herself a slow, cautious step backward, giving Mark room. He knelt down and gently lifted the umbrella, holding it over the baby. The glow of the infant reflected on his wet face, illuminating his expression. The mother studied him silently, still tense but curious. For the first time, she allowed herself a brief moment of rest, holding the baby a little less tightly. Mark glanced at the broken umbrella. It had bent spokes and torn fabric, but it still did its job. He realized how fragile life could be, how small acts like tossing away an old umbrella could ripple into something extraordinary. The baby stirred slightly, its glow pulsing softly. Mark's heart ached with awe. The mother made a soft sound, a kind of hum that vibrated through the alley. Mark didn't understand, but it felt like gratitude. He nodded slowly. "It's okay. You're safe now," he said, though he knew she could not understand the words. His tone carried the meaning. The rain continued to fall, but Mark and the mother worked together. He adjusted the umbrella, tilted it to shield the baby from stray drops, and cleared small puddles to make the ground safer. The mother watched every move, learning his intentions. Slowly, a silent trust began to grow between them. Minutes passed. The baby stopped crying, its soft glow steady. The mother exhaled softly, relief flooding her expression. She shifted slightly to tuck the infant closer to her, glancing at Mark again. Her large eyes showed a hint of something almost human, recognition and appreciation. Mark realized that this was more than just a chance encounter. He had stepped in, guided by instinct and empathy, and it had made a difference. The alien mother had survived the storm with her baby because of a human's courage and quick thinking. Humans were flawed, clumsy, and sometimes careless, but capable of extraordinary acts when it mattered most. The storm outside seemed to ease, as if acknowledging their small victory. Rain dripped from the broken umbrella, forming tiny streams along the edges. Mark held it steady, careful not to let it collapse. The mother finally allowed herself to sit fully, resting for the first time in hours. Mark looked at her, at the glowing baby nestled in her arms, and felt a strange sense of connection. This was not his world, and yet he was part of it now. He had been pulled into a story larger than himself, a story of life, protection, and trust that crossed the boundaries of worlds. The mother made another soft hum, almost a sound of relief. Mark nodded, understanding it as best he could. He realized they had survived together, through instinct, courage, and small acts of care. The broken umbrella, discarded without thought hours ago, had become a symbol of their fragile alliance. The rain continued to fall lightly, but the alley seemed calmer. The mother and her baby had survived the storm with human help. Mark stood slowly, letting the umbrella remain steady, knowing this was only the beginning. Their lives were now linked in ways neither could fully understand. For the first time, Mark felt a deep respect for the small, glowing creatures before him. They were intelligent, cautious, and strong in their own way. And humans, clumsy, messy humans, could rise to the occasion, protecting what mattered, even when it was not their own. The alley was quiet now, except for the gentle dripping of rain. But Mark knew the story had only just begun. The rain had almost stopped now. Small puddles reflected the soft glow of neon lights, and the alley smelled of wet concrete and earth. Mark stood quietly, still holding the broken umbrella over the glowing baby. The mother alien watched him, her large eyes curious but cautious. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Mark's chest rose and fell with nervous breaths. He had helped her, yes, but now he needed to understand her, and she needed to decide whether to trust him. Neither of them knew the other's language, yet something unspoken passed between them. Mark knelt a little closer, keeping his hands open and visible. "I won't hurt you," he whispered again. His voice was soft, steady. The mother tilted her head, studying him. The baby wriggled slightly in her arms, glowing faintly with every movement. Then, something remarkable happened. The mother made a soft melodic hum, low and gentle, almost like a song. The glow of her body changed color, shifting from soft blue to a warm yellow around the baby. The baby responded, its glow pulsing in the same rhythm. Mark stared in awe. This was communication, an alien language of light and sound. He didn't know the words, but he understood the meaning. She was trying to tell him, "I am not dangerous. I am protecting my child." Mark nodded slowly, smiling faintly. He tapped his chest with a finger, showing himself. Then he pointed to her baby, softly saying, "Safe. Safe." The mother's glow flickered brighter, almost like a small laugh or sigh of relief. She shifted slightly, tilting the baby closer to him, as if testing whether he truly meant no harm. Mark remained still, letting the tiny creature see his calm intentions. Minutes passed in this quiet exchange. Mark realized that even without words, understanding could happen. He was learning her language of gestures, glows, and sounds. And she was learning his gestures, tone, and intent. Slowly, they were bridging a gap that no one had crossed before. The baby's glow pulsed more steadily now. Mark smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. This was fragile life, unlike anything on Earth. He had helped protect it, and now he was part of this moment. He reached out gently, offering a small piece of cloth from his coat. The mother hesitated, then accepted it, wrapping part of it around her baby. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. Humans could adapt. Humans could care. Even when faced with the unknown, they could act with empathy and intelligence. That thought filled Mark with pride. He had been clumsy, wet, and tired, but he had made a difference. The mother seemed to sense this. Her glow shifted again, now a soft green around the baby and a faint amber around her. Mark watched, fascinated. She was communicating gratitude, not just for saving her child, but for understanding her intentions. Mark nodded, slowly and carefully. "I understand," he said. The words felt inadequate, but they carried the truth. She didn't need words. She understood the tone, the gesture, the calm intention behind them. Hours passed. The rain finally stopped, leaving the city quiet except for distant traffic. Mark stayed with the mother and baby, maintaining the small connection they had created. He could see the intelligence in her eyes, the care she had for her child, and he felt a deep respect for her resilience. For the first time, Mark realized that this encounter was more than a strange event. It was a lesson. Humans could be compassionate. Humans could rise to the occasion, even when the world was unfamiliar and dangerous. And this small, glowing alien family had given him a glimpse of life beyond his understanding. The mother shifted slightly, letting Mark see the baby more clearly. Its tiny glow pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Mark felt a lump in his throat. He had helped save this life, and in return, he had learned something remarkable. Humans could matter, even to those from another world. Finally, the mother and her baby rested safely under the broken umbrella. Mark stepped back slightly, giving them space, but he knew the bond they had formed would last. No words had been exchanged, yet understanding flowed between them, a silent connection of trust, empathy, and care. The alley was quiet now, calm under the soft glow of the neon lights. Mark knew that this night was only the beginning. He had met life from another world, and he had proven that humans could rise to the challenge. They could protect, understand, and act with courage. For the first time, he felt certain of one thing: this encounter would change his life, and perhaps, in some small way, the world too. The rain had stopped completely. The city streets glistened under the soft glow of neon lights and street lamps. Puddles reflected the world upside down, calm and still. The alley where Mark, the alien mother, and her baby had survived the storm was quiet, almost peaceful. Mark stood a few feet away watching them. The alien mother held her glowing baby close, the broken umbrella tilted slightly to shield the last drops of water from the air. Her large eyes met his, and for the first time, Mark felt a clear, unspoken connection. They didn't need words. They understood each other. The baby stirred, glowing brighter than before. It let out a soft sound, like a tiny laugh. Mark smiled, heart swelling. This fragile, glowing life had survived the storm, survived fear, and survived human misunderstanding. And now it was safe because of courage, care, and small acts that mattered more than anyone could imagine. The mother shifted, wrapping the baby more securely. Her eyes softened, and she gave a small hum, a sound Mark could almost interpret as gratitude. Mark nodded slowly, smiling. He felt proud but humbled. He had been part of something extraordinary, something bigger than himself. He looked down at the broken umbrella, bent and torn, yet still standing strong over the baby. He thought about how he had thrown it away without care hours ago. Now it had become a shield, a lifeline. One small human action had made all the difference. The mother made another soft hum, and this time her glow pulsed in warm shades of green and amber. The baby mirrored her glow. Mark realized she was not only showing gratitude, but also signaling that she recognized humans could be trusted allies. Humans could act with courage, intelligence, and compassion. Mark took a cautious step closer. "You're safe now," he said softly, though he knew she could not understand the words. His tone, his gestures, and his calm presence spoke more than language ever could. The mother studied him, tilting her head slowly, then gave a final soft hum. For the first time, Mark felt he understood something profound. Any life was fragile, beautiful, and connected. Humans often overlooked small things, a discarded object, a quiet act of kindness. Yet these things could ripple across worlds, saving lives and building.